Hey y'all, so I'm coming on super excited because we are actually going to do a resin pour, which I'm just so excited. It's been forever since I feel like I've been able to actually pour resin. So, don't mind our messy cover, but this is my leveling table and it is level. So I'm going to put on my silicone mat to protect. And this is what we're going to be making. But before we prep our molds, which I hope that mold, it's a little funky, but we're going to roll with it. I'm going to get resin mixed up because I want to have our resin mixed and setting up. So I am going to try Let's Resin Resin. And I'm basically going to be trying this out. I've never used it, but I bought them on a deal on Amazon, and I thought, you know what, we're gonna try it and see what we like. I'm gonna also do, this will be a few part series because I'm gonna do another resin, and we're gonna basically do a comparison. And same like thing that I've done in the past where I'm just comparing resins. So because this is the first time that I've used this one. Yes, we know first aid. Make sure that you don't consume this product. Perfect. We will not. Let's see. I don't even know if it has any directions on it. Let's see if this bottle does. It doesn't. Pretty certain it's a 1-in-1 because it's both half gallon, but it, oh, you know what? It did come with instructions. I'm used to instructions being on the bottle, but it's not there, so let's look. Big, long, you can't see this whole thing, but a big, long thing of instructions here, so yes, tips to avoid certain things, okay. Yes, I get the tips, okay. Let's see. I think it's 1-on-1, but like I don't want to just, yeah, measure 1 by 1. It's in the Q&A. Oh yeah, there it was. Features: crystal clear, bubble free, no odor, self-leveling, mold friendly. Mixing ratios: 1 by 1 by volume. Demold in 8 to 24 hours. Full cure time is 2 to 3 days. You know, so we have about 40 to 50 minute working time. That just gives you an idea of what you have to work with. So, perfect. Just wanted to verify that before we proceeded. I am going to slap on a pair of gloves so that I am good to roll. As y'all know from watching lots of my other tutorials, if I'm doing UV resin, I don't grab gloves, but we are doing horrible resin and it can get messy. Gloves are important. Make sure you wear protective gear. They talk about full goggles. I don't go that extreme, but definitely do what feels right and safe for you. I am going to mix 80 milliliters. So I have this. If you want, you can mark where you need to be on each. And these don't have different colored tops, so I am going to make sure that I know which one's going to be B and which one's going to be A. So this is going to be my B thing, and this one's going to be my A. just so that I know which one to go on which. Right now it doesn't matter, but once we open these, oh, those are a nice seal open. Oh, I like that. Okay, kudos number one. Now it's a little hard to get this on video, but we're gonna do our best. B pours nice and smooth. I like that. Got right at 40, which is what I wanted. Now I'm gonna do something a smidge risky, and I am going to pour A right on top of my B. Now why I say that's a smidge risky is because if I over pour A, then I'm going to have to add more B. So you just got to be very careful. You could do a separate cup if you wanted. I am fairly confident in myself. Although this bottle is heavy. I work on some upper arm strength apparently. But I don't want to pour too fast, because I want to make sure I stop it at 80. Oh yeah. Boom. Whew. Hear me slam that down. Yep, perfect. I almost wonder if I need to mark these little cuppers, but I guess as long as I put them right back in, we'll be good. Okay. Let me grab my rubbing alcohol. So I put a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a paper towel and just wipe off the resin that's on my gloves. That way I am not, when I grab the cap, putting resin directly onto those caps. Okay, A and B. I felt like those poured really nicely, so I'm liking that. Let's get a stir stick. Oh, I want to write down. So I did 80 total. 40A, 40B. Now I did B first. It's just habit with other resin I've done. I just have found that that's the easiest. We're about 7 minutes in on this video, 7.5 minutes. So we are going to stir this for 3 minutes so that we can get it nice and mixed. This is a plastic stir stick. Looks like a popsicle stick. I love these. They're reusable. I can wipe it clean, and it makes for the best stir stick for me. It's large popsicle size. If you use an actual popsicle stick, whether the small or large ones, when they're wood, they can cause some bubbles. So I know you might see a lot of people use a popsicle stick. It's just not my preference. This is going to help keep some bubbles out. And you'll notice every so often I am just making sure that I get all the edges. And just nice and slow, round and round we go. You'll see there's like some little string cloudiness going on right now. That's just as both part A and B get mixed. It's pretty normal. Now I've never used the Let's Resin. I just noticed that on the bottle right in front of me it says ratio 1:1. So smart. I should have looked at that before I jumped on the video, but it just shows how excited I am. I was going to use a new stirring tool that I have. Stirring tool? I think I said that weird. But stirring tool that I have, but I realized it has to plug into an outlet, and I don't have a free outlet right now that I can plug directly into because my wall space is all covered, so I have an extension cord. That's not going to work. And I want it to be, or a power strip, and I don't want it to be in that. So, I'm like, I guess we're not doing that. But I started recording a video and I had to start it over because I had that out. And then I read the directions. My goodness, I'm just so excited. This looks really clear, y'all. Like, super clear. And it's not been 10 minutes yet. It's been like 2. But it is really clear. I like to lift mine up so that I can see that we've gotten a lot of the stringy stuff out. And then it also allows me to wipe my stir stick and then bring that back in too. So we'll do about 30 more seconds just to be consistent. And I'm going to write that down. And then this will set. We'll check it in like 10 minutes, but we're going to be doing some other things just in the background while we're letting this set up. I have some bubbles, but it's not bad. Looks very clear. So I'm super happy with that. Okay. I have brushes on here from another project. Again, I was like, just clear space. We gotta pop on this video. Alright, so stir 3 minutes. And the reason why I'm doing that is I just want to make sure that when I compare that we're relatively, you know, following the same kind of timeline, so that the experiment is relatively accurate. Okay. If you don't already know, I have silicone mats all over my table. I've got 2 big counterculture mats that sit on my table. So that's why I wasn't worried about putting a stir stick that has resin on it directly on it. But I did use a wipe, that same paper towel that I wiped up my hands with, or my gloves with, to just wipe that up. You can do it either way. You can let it cure and then peel it off, or you can wipe it up. Whichever. Alrighty. So, we're going to prep our molds. I have 2 molds here. Same exact mold. I see some debris or little things in them, which is common. They're going to get stuck. I never clean my molds until like before we're going to get ready to pour, which we're going to get kind of ready, because I don't want to clean them just to have them get gross again. You know, it's little details. Little details. But tape, masking tape, fantastic for that. These weren't awful dirty, but just a little. So now I'm going to gather what we are going to use as our colorants that I need or want, because I want to do some new colorants. So I want to use this purple splash from Counterculture DIY. They had it on their closeout sale here recently. Just looks like it would be really, really pretty. And then, whoop, that was loud. I'll have to remember that when I'm doing a video to close those a little bit more kindly. Is that the one? Yeah. Okay. And then we're grabbing alcohol ink. I don't know really much shimmer. Yeah, let's just go regular purple. Yeah. I was gonna do kind of a purple and blue, but I don't think that's gonna give it a true flower effect. It would be very pretty, but I feel like I might need a lighter color in here. Yeah, let's do. Let's keep that one out. We might use it. Might not. See. I might throw a little bit of turquoise into one. We might play around a little bit, because this is all just for fun, right? And then I need our casting craft. That will be our white part, which is going to help this really bloom up. That's what we want. We're going to do a balloon. Alright, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 5. So I'm just gathering some smaller cups for us to mix our colorants in. Grab some stir sticks. Okay, so we're at 10.5, so we've been about 5 minutes. That's setting up. Bubbles are coming to the surface, which is nice. You might be able to see those little micro bubbles come into the surface, which is cool. That's what we want. And then I am going to add a little bit of mica to the center of this. Oh, I just had an idea too. You watch this. Okay, so this is an interference gold, so it like really shimmers, and when it catches the light, it shimmers a lot. So when you're doing a bloom coaster, we are building this backwards. All right, so you kind of have to get your mind thinking opposite. This is opposite day, meaning we are building backwards. Our top is not going to be on top as we build this. Our top is really going to be the bottom as we're building it. So that's what you want to think about. That's the side that you're ultimately should see. Now some blooms, they end up blooming the opposite way, and you might fall in love with the back side, but in theory we're building it backwards. And where this has the design on it, you're not going to have that sitting on your tabletop. You're going to want that shown, right? So I'm going to put a little bit of this interface gold in here. It splattered a little bit. I'm really not concerned about that. What I'm wanting is that to be in there just to give the center a little bit more of a shine beyond and above what we're going to put on the middle with the mica. So this is just like a little makeup sponge tipped stick. I got them at Hobby Lobby, actually, in the resin crafting. So now this is a Sunshine Golden mica, and so I'm just adding a couple little, like, dotting it on, blobbing it in there too. So that would give it a little bit more color, but I'm hoping the shimmer interference will give it just a little extra chef's kiss, so we should say. But don't kiss your resin, okay? This can be cleaned off pretty easily. I'm just going to slide it into a container for now. And then I had this thought. I just have to find the right one for it. Don't know. So then, because one I'm going to experiment with a little bit more than the other, I'm going to do this greenish blue. It doesn't show as well as I would like it to on the camera. It's a little bit more green than the camera is picking up. That's okay. So just on one of them, I'm going to do this. I'm going to just, maybe not all of these here, but just kind of giving, you know, a little bit of this color in here. You know, flowers aren't perfect in the real world. I saw this once when somebody was doing a bloom, and they were like, oh, my bloom didn't come out as good as I wanted it to. And I saw a lot of artists rally behind them and say, you know what? It may not have come out like you maybe envisioned it in your mind, but it's so pretty because nature is not perfect, or even just, you know, consistent. Like each petal, if you really look at a flower, each petal is not going to be the same. So don't panic over that. And I was like, that's really good advice, because how many times as artists do we second guess and like, we didn't get it just right? And it's like, when we're doing stuff, it's fine. So you can see the blue just a little bit on there. Not anything crazy. And you can see where a little extra mica went. It's probably going to just blend in once the resin's on it. So I'm not like overly concerned per se about that. Okay. Again, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be enjoyable. Okay. So we're not going to stress it. Yeah. Easier said than done. I realize this. I'm right there with you. I'm very particular about things. So don't think that I'm not. And if you hear a humming, it's because I do have a little space heater going in here right now, just to make sure this space stays as warm as it can. I'm sorry, I had to get a drink. Okay. I think our resin is about where we want it. So I went ahead and grabbed my counterculture DIY heating gun. She's seen a ton of use, I'm telling you. And I'm going to put her on low. I always start her by blowing it away from whatever I'm working on, just so that if there were any dust stuck in the nozzle or somewhere, I'm not blowing it right into my project. And I'm just going to give it a little heat. Just a smidge. It still has not set up maybe as much as I would love for it to. Oh, maybe it's getting there. Yeah, we're getting there. It's not all the way there, but it's there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pour into here so that the clear can start setting up. You want a real thin layer, not too thin. You want a nice, consistent layer of clear. I find this will help your bloom. Now, you can do blooms multiple ways, okay? So don't get me wrong. There's all sorts of techniques. This is just what we're doing. I like to have some of the clear in there to help with the colors pop. I don't want to use all my resin because I need to mix color in. And I don't want to have 2 batches of resin because if they're not mixed properly, it could affect how things cure up. So that mold was, these molds were a little lopsided, which has me a tad concerned because they're not filling up as well as they could because they're trying to go to the shortest part, which is what it's supposed to, but not doing what I want it to. I need you to fill the whole bottom. So we're going to heat up the resin just a little bit, not too close to it. Don't want to catch it on fire. Don't want to have it fast cure. This one is creating a few more bigger bubbles down by our blue over here. So it's something I'm going to have to make sure those come to surface. I'm going to put that we poured first layer 10 minutes after set. Okay. So I'm going to take these and just plop them like that and hope that that helps those bubbles come up. If they don't, oh, I see some on this one too. We'll if that doesn't work, we'll do another trick. I think this mold was somewhat repelling it over here in this corner, so I had to kind of move it to make it not repel it, and see how it's doing that over here. I don't know why. It's wanting to repel the resin. And I see some of the gold moving around, but that's fine. It's probably going to get lost in the mix anyway, so not overly worried about it. Alright, I'm going to pour our cups for color. Let's see. The white is the one. We probably want about the same in all of them if I can. I'm going to say the white you might want just a smidge more because white's going to be for sure in both. Teal is not. Yeah, we're going to do these two a little bit smaller. And I'm a big person to not waste. So we will scrape the bottom of this to make sure that we get all of the resin possible on there. We'll add a little bit more to this mold. Add a little bit more to this mold, which I might need to just go ahead and add a little more to each, just to make sure. Or we might wing it. We'll see. We shall see. I will tell you, this resin does not have any sort of smell thus far, which is pretty cool. Now, doesn't mean that it's not, what do I want to say, a chemical reaction, because it still is a chemical reaction happening. So, you know, again, do what you feel most comfortable. I would suggest probably wear your protective gear. That's the smartest thing to do. Protect your space, protect yourself. But for recording purposes, I don't have a big respirator mask on, because that's all you would hear is me breathing through that, which I know, not the best. So don't come at me, I realize. Alright. Like, let's all play nice. I've seen people get pretty nasty over that stuff, and I'm like, no need to get nasty about it. Like, we're all adults. And yes. But I'm not denying that you should probably wear your protective gear. I'm not saying don't. Alrighty, let's see. So this is a silicone brush that I'm using. I would not use anything sharp, but I'm just trying to shift some of those bubbles that are trying to form in between these little stemmy pieces to come to the surface for us. If we can get them to the top of the surface, then we can get them to pop. Poppity pop, pop, pop. Oh, that was on high. Let's not do that. Also, I check my edges because that's where bubbles like to really form. Oh, I smell a little bit of it now. Just because I said I wasn't smelling this resin, I smelled it this one. It's not terrible though. It's not overpowering, is what I would say, which is good. Okay, this one we're just going to give you a smidge more. Same thing over here, just a tiny bit more. Now, a trick with the blooms is to not rush this process. So, what we poured. This lighting, I just realized, y'all. Let me try to get that a little bit better. I'm going to try to zoom y'all in a little. I just blinded myself, though, with the ring light. There we go. Maybe not so intense, but maybe a little bit. Let's just do that. We'll just shift you. What was I saying? I got distracted. Oh, the shark with blooms. Don't rush it. So kind of good that I got distracted, because we don't want to rush this. We want to let this resin set, because you want this to still be flowing somewhat so that it has some movement, but not too much movement. We want to have the right amount of movement happening. So it is a fine line, is what I would tell you, that you just kind of want to work with. So we're another 10 minutes or so in, so I'm going to add the colorants that we're going to be doing. Casting craft, you're going to want to shake it just to mix it. This bottle I think was like $6, maybe even $10, which I felt like was crazy. But honestly, I've been doing resin for a couple of years now, and I haven't even finished one bottle. Granted, I don't do all blooms, but still. I'm going to say about 4 drops. It's not going to take much. And it's going to get a 5th, or 4.5, which is fine. And then same thing with our alcohol inks. You want to make sure that we really shake them, because if we don't, they will not mix up very well. Okay. That's the darker one. I'm worried that I'm going to overflow resin because these are not laying flat, but we're rolling with it. That one I'm going to give 4 just because it's a lighter purple. And then oh, my glove's going to get stuck to this tape. Whoa, that is very full. Huh. Ho, ho, ho. Ho, ho, ho. Let's see here. Let me find the best tool. I'm going to just go ahead and use a silicone brush. And I'm just taking a chunk of it and plopping that in there. And then we're going to seal that back up. Now I really wanted to, with the other one, with that teal, I'm going to just drop it in where I want it. So I don't think that I really needed this many. So this clear, if we need a little bit more of a color, then we'll use it. Okay. That's what we're going to roll with. I'm like, I know I have stir sticks. What happened to them? Alright. So, there's that mica. Mica, you want to make sure it gets mixed really well. Because it's, I mean, all of this, you want to make sure it gets mixed really well. Who am I kidding? Because this is a powder that you're putting into a liquid. So, ooh, it's not as dark as I thought it was going to be. So what I might do is I might grab, wow, it is very iridescent. Way more than I thought. So I am going to grab a darker mica. Purple mica. And that's what we're going to use this. See, it happened for a reason. So this one's not as full. I'm just going to use the same silicone brush. It didn't have any resin on it, so. So excited. We're going to end up being about 15 or 20 minutes. So see how that's not as iridescent? So that's kind of what I want. I'm going to stir the light first, and then I can use the same stir stick to go to the other alcohol ink. I'll just save on. So alcohol ink is going to typically be very see-through, which is what this lavender is. It's very see-through. So I am glad I mixed up some dark, because I don't want it to all just be light. But you want it kind of contrasting too, because that's the idea. So this one's darker. Yep, loving it. Alright, let's mix up our casting craft. So casting craft, if you mix it well, you won't see any of the white streaks in it. And you'll notice I'm going all the same direction when I'm mixing. These look, well, I say that and then I just kind of, I'll go all clockwise, and then I'll typically loop it counterclockwise just to mix. But you want to minimize your bubbles, so I'm keeping this stick clear on the bottom as I'm mixing. And those bubbles are coming to the top and popping. But this white should be very white, which is what we wanted. So that's awesome. Alright, this is where it gets fun. I am going to, so you may not see my cups as much that I'm picking up, but I'll show the color. Sorry about y'all. I'll show the color because I want to get these down. So I'm going to do one more swirl and one more probably looped. Though these don't have a ton of room to make them, you know, do anything fun. And before we do that, we're going to hit the top of these with just a smooth heat because there's a few bubbles at the top that have surfaced. If you can hit those bubbles every time before each process, it does help. And yeah, we are about 15 minutes. Start colors into mold. I have to at least make my note to where I can understand it. Okay. This is the mica. So I'm going to kind of go every other. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to do a mica, alcoholic, mica, alcoholic. Okay. So this one is so iridescent, I can't even see it. But it's there. And then on this one, I'm just going to do some little petals. Now, you do not need to be an artist to do this. Just have fun, okay? Here's our alcohol ink. And again, I can barely see that other one, so I may not get this in between each line, but that's okay. Now I'm doing our lighter colors on the bottom first, just so that the center can be, well, the center and the fronts can have that color shine through. If we did our darks first, you wouldn't be able to see these colors come through. Alright, mica. And you can do it however you want, but this is just how I'm doing these. So this one you can see a lot better. And again, this circle effect, you can see I've got some overlapping happening. It's okay, because we're going to manipulate that resin here in a little bit anyway, so it doesn't matter. My petals don't have to be perfect, because we are going to make it when we're going to help define that. I like to kind of start in a different spot if possible. Just so that I'm not always starting in that same exact spot, so that I can give it a little bit different design. A little bit hard to get into the petals here. Oh, I'm afraid that this one is going to run it over. Whew, it's so pretty. Okay, this one I want to do maybe, make sure I shook that enough. I don't think I did. I can see that the colorant is down here at the bottom. It's settled, so I'm going to have to watch this one. I might have to spin her just to get it. I'm going to just put like 5 drops probably and let those bloom in. Oh my gosh, I probably just got alcohol ink all over my back because I was holding this lid and it was very full of alcohol ink. This glove is like saturated. That'll be fun. Gotta remember that one. Let me finish. Maybe not. Maybe I'm good. Maybe it just all collected on my glove. Okay. Let's let those sit for 5 minutes, okay? Colorant Slade. Colorant Blade. Wait 5 minutes before we're going to do our white. While we're waiting for that, we are going to do two things. Check this mold to see if it's very dirty. I don't think it is, so I think we're okay. I'm going to pull this mold, and it's going to become our dump mold, and it's going to pull all these extra resins that we're not going to need. And I'm going to pour this one in, and then I'm going to let that sit up for just a couple minutes. We'll get our casting craft ready, and then we'll pour another one in. That's just to let some bubbles rise on it. See, no waste. No waste. Love it. Okay. So, what we want to do with our casting craft is I have a cake icing bag, and we're going to put our casting craft in this bag. So I'm going to show you. And the easiest ways to do that is to open up your bag, put it inside of another cup so that the inside is out, basically. And I'm going to get as close to the bottom as I can on the bag, so I have all this extra that's going to come up and over it, so that I can pour this in and get it as close to the bottom as possible. And this is like a magic trick because I'm doing this without a surface on my bottom, so that I can show you. So I am balancing both the cup I'm pouring into and the cup I'm pouring out of in my hands. So it may not be the most clear because it's gonna have a hard time focusing, but for you to get the idea. And these little stir sticks, they're from Counterculture, and I think they're doing a closeout on them because I just saw them on their clearance page. And I'm like, dang, these are some of my favorite sticks. I use them for everything. Truly. They came in like a pack of 3 or 5, I can't remember, for the small ones. And I love them better than the big ones. These small ones I use all the time with everything. And they're reusable, which is fun and fantastic, because you know a girl loves something that I can use over and over. Okay, so now you see how that's in the bottom, and now we can bring our bag up and over so that we didn't, well, we still got a lot of ways to go, but we didn't end up clear up here trying to push all this resin down, essentially. And it's not wanting to go because we've trapped air down here. It's a little bit tricky, but we got it. We got it. And we'll cut a hole in the tip to do our artwork. But I see some bubbles and things, so I want to do a little bit of shimmying before we do that. And we're not quite at 5 minutes anyway, so this looks good. It looks like it's settled where it needs to here, so I'm really kind of worried about this one. You know what I'm going to do? It's going to seem a little bit maybe crazy, but we're going to try it. I am going to, and the tape's probably not going to really stick to the table piece here because it's silicone. Nothing sticks to silicone very well. And sticks to my glove. I don't want our custom craft to be on the edge here. I'm hoping maybe if that tape is there, that'll help hold that center down a little bit more than it is right now. That one seems to be doing good. But this one is not being very cooperative. Think. Get creative. Get creative. I'm going to try a double-sided tape. Okay, so what's my motto? Or, you know, what do I always say? I always say that, hey, mistakes happen like that. That tape just crumbled on itself. Did not help me at all. Mistakes happen, but everything is fixable. You just gotta get a tad creative, right? Okay, so this is called creativeness. There we go. I was like, I need something that's not going to stick to the tape like my gloves or my finger. So this is called just getting a little bit creative. And this is moving this one around a little bit, which, you know, not the most ideal. But that just is what this one is right now. Okay. I think that's going to work, actually. So see, everything's fixable. Just gotta get a little creative. So don't panic. Though I almost did, mind you. But I didn't fully. Okay, let me get this glove back on because I feel like I'm going to have resin all over this hand if I don't. So we are 5 minutes in. I'm going to let that set a little bit more. I like how they're curing so far, but I do want to get that white in soon. But I'm going to throw this one in really quick to this mold, and then we'll throw our white in. You do need to watch your time so that you don't let the resin get too tacky. It's a little bit of a fine art. And normally I wouldn't be so precise, but because we are experimenting with resin that I haven't used and we're going to experiment with another brand, I kind of want to give it as best of a, what do I want to say, as much of a controlled environment situation as we can. This is an orchid mold, and I'm pretty excited about how this is going to come out with us just dumping some resin in it, because these purples are some of my favorite, and I love orchids because my mom loved orchids. She had a real green thumb with them, and I could never keep one alive, but honestly, since she's passed, yes, I've killed a couple, not gonna lie. Shh, don't tell anybody else. No, but I definitely have been able to keep more alive than I ever could have, and I've even had one that I have in my office rebloom, which is even more exciting. If you've ever done orchids, it's so exciting. And it's got blooms on it, or buds on it right now, so I'm so excited it's gonna bloom again soon. Alright, a little bit of heat. Let's pop some bubbles here. Nothing crazy. This one I am going to go up and down. Hopefully let some of that resin shift. I see a big bubble. I don't know. Yep, you can see it. See it coming up right there? Yep. Let's see if it came to the surface enough to pop. Huh, we got tape on our heat gun. Come on. There it went. Yay. Okay. So, I'm going to get some Sawzalls. Of course, and all that I have done, I don't know if I have scissors nearby. Craziness. Alright, so we're almost 10 minutes after we poured colorant. So that's just good to know. So I don't want to do a big cut on this. I want to do pretty small. Now this bag is sealed to up to about here, so I'm going to go a little bit above that. I'm not going to do it in camera. The only reason is because I can't cut and catch the falling piece and avoid it landing in our creations. So don't mind me. I'm just going to cut a tip off. I like a little bit of an angle, but find what works for you. And then I'm just going to make sure that it's going to be able to come out. You could do a tester on the side to get kind of the hang of it. You want this to be as tight as possible. If you have never decorated cakes, this could be a little bit of a challenge, but if you have decorated cakes, the concept is the same. You're just working with resin and not icing. So with this one, I am going to do the same concept. I'm going to swirl. And with this one, we're going to draw petals. So, and it's just a nice little consistent pressure. And you'll notice it is sinking into the resin. And that is exactly what you want. And I got a little lopsided with my circular. It became kind of oblonged. But we'll make that work. Look how pretty. We're not going to touch it yet, but it's going to be pretty. Okay, so yeah, nice consistent pressure to give you an even flow. And that's why you don't want your hole too big, because you want to be able to control what you're putting out on this. So again, I'm not like super great artistic wise at drawing things. Okay. I have other artistic talents like resin, but drawing is not a great one of my talents. So you'll notice that these petals are kind of sloppy. That's okay. It's gonna come out beautiful no matter what you do. I promise. I'm going to put just a little bit of white right here in the center to let that drop in. There's a bubble forming. Look at that. Do you see that bubble? Right on top. So you could do one or two things. You could hit it with the heat gun. You can also pop it usually. You just need the layer of resin to get... Oh my gosh. I say that, but look at how this bubble is just not... There it goes. And then it like sucks it back in. It's like, whew. Okay. That's not going to make any difference. So I have just a little bit of this white left over. We'll figure out something with it, okay? We will figure out something. Don't know just yet what, but it's not much. But, again, I don't waste resin. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to say put coloring in and we wait 10 minutes because that's kind of what we did. I'm going to give it to about 56, so 2.5-ish minutes, and then we'll manipulate that resin. Okay. I was like, oh, let's pour this in there. That one's already been poured. Let's pour this one in. And what's cool is I think we'll have pretty much filled this mold, which is exciting, because typically when I do little dump pours like this, it takes about 3 or 4 pours before I would get it full. And where I'm going to move to a different resin next time I pour, I don't want to put that into this same mold because I don't want to mix brands and formulas basically, even though it'd be cured. Shouldn't matter, but you know what? We're just not going to do it. Oh, so pretty. I can't wait for that to come out. I may be more excited about that than I am about these, which is pretty crazy. Pretty crazy to think about. Oh, I know what we're going to do with that white resin. I totally know. I totally know, y'all. It's gonna be kind of crazy, but I know what we're gonna do. Question is, can I find the mold I want? I have 2 of this mold. Let's see if I can find it. I just need one of them. Just need one. I don't know. Let's see. Surely. It's gotta be close by. I used it somewhat-ish recently in the bathtub that last time I poured resin, I think I used it. This is the problem when you get just like a small amount and you're like, oh, I need this mold. And I'm not looking. It's like, oh, that's how I feel. Could do. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. I apologize. I hope y'all turn down your volume before that one just like escaped from me. Because it came full force. I sneezed at the office earlier and scared my team. I was like, I'm sorry. It forced its way out of here. Huh. That would have been like, I have this little birdie mold. I have 2 of them. And they would have been like, no one is going to run because I sneezed. They would have been perfect for this little amount of resin. Granted, they're not, it wouldn't have been perfect because it wouldn't fill the full bird mold, but it would have been dang cute. We're going to do next best thing. I'm going to pour it into a bead mold, and that's going to work. I'm going to throw a drop. Oh, we're past the 56 that I said, huh? Way past. Well, not way past, but I'm going to try to throw like a couple drops of this purple in there. This alcohol. Make it mix up in there. I think we'll be okay. Because those are just starting. I hate that the mold is repelling the resin though. I don't know why it's doing that. I've never had one repel it like that so much. I mean, I've definitely had some weird things happen, but that is a strange one. I should have cut the top of this off so that I could get down in there a little better, but sorry, sniffing it, sneezing in y'all's ear, sniffing in your ear, you know. What you gonna do? Alright, so I have this bead mold, and I'm just gonna try to squeeze what little bit of resin I have into it, which I might not be able to. Oh, it might take more than I thought it would. Gracious. Oh. That's just, I feel like a piping mess, but no pun intended as in piping. Oh, I was able to fill like 2, 3, I don't know. It kind of works because you can get actually down in this mold and like pipe it, which is nice. Alright. I saved as much as I'm going to save out of that. You know, at some point, you just got to call it. Alrighty. Now for the fun. So, I'm going to get a paper towel with a little bit of rubbing alcohol on it. Just so that I can clean my tool, okay? I'm going to use the silicone brush side to do this just because I feel like it's a little bit cleaner than my knob side. Now this is a dull knob, so it shouldn't scratch my mold, but I still don't want to really push all the way down into the mold. I just want to pull to the center like that, and then wipe it off. And I'm coming in every little petal like this. Like here. Let's see how it is. So we did about 10 minutes. It's gonna need another layer because this mold has repelled so much. Just going to. But, and then we'll go up. So I like to go in, and then on my one out, it's kind of in the middle of each petal. You will find the design that you like personally. You could go each one of these, but I'm splitting this just down the middle on this. Look at that. I love how that center is, so I'm not going to touch it because it's swirled nice right now. May not fully stay that way, but I'm liking it. I like the look. It may move a little bit more. Resin is going to pull to the center. Always going to pull to the center. Your colors are going to come to the middle, okay? So you want to think about that when it's moving. So if you want color on your edges, you better pour color on your edges because it's going to automatically pull to center. That's just how it is. I know some people are like, why did it come all the way to the center? I promise you, it's just doing what resin's supposed to do. We are just a small part in this process. And there's not enough resin on this side because this mold is not staying flat. So that will be fun when we have to fill it, but we'll get it. So this one I think I am going to come in on all these, and then I might still pull in the very center. I'm going to try it. I just feel like the white needs a little bit more definition on here than I was liking. Oh yeah. On the side where there's actually resin, seems to be doing really good. And I'm not pressing all the way down in it. I'm just in enough to grab that white color and some of the other colored part of the resins and manipulate it. This one's getting a little gunky here, but I think it's more on this back side, so we won't notice it when we get it all filled. So I'll probably on these do a really thin clear layer, and then we might put a colorant like a glitter, solid glitter, or solid mica just on the back to make the blooms pop. But right now, you know, we're going to just roll with it. So then I'm going to pull this one all the way out. The reason why you want to wipe your tool after each run through the resin is because if you don't, you're bringing those, whatever you just pulled through, you're bringing it into this right here. And you could, especially on that blue one, you could bring your color where you didn't want it. And it's getting pretty stringy now, so I don't want to really do much more playing with it, just because you'll end up creating it to be like a sticky mess. Like if you think of when you make a cookie dough that's really sticky, that's kind of how this would get. So you got a lot of bubbles out of this guy. Good. We're going to spritz him with just a little rubbing alcohol to pop any of those surface levels ones. So this is just a cheap plastic spray bottle from Dollar Tree. I'm going to pull that out of the camera so that I don't spill this on top of those coasters. One downside of filming in a small area, can't show you every single step because of that. So just a little spray bottle. Doesn't take much, but those bubbles just cleared right up. And give each of those just a quick little spray. Now if you do spray, you may find if you do too much spray, you'll get droplets and so forth in there. But just be careful of that. Like, that was a real light mist across the top. I don't see any droplets that caused any major thing. So what we are going to do is we're going to cover these, and then I will zoom out a little bit, and on top of the cover basically I'll be able to show you how I clean everything, because that was one thing when I first started with resin I felt like was not addressed enough, was how do I clean all my silicone stuff? How do I save this stuff? So I have found my techniques, and I'm going to just go ahead and wipe the excess that's on these bead ones. It will peel off, so it won't be an issue, but I just wanted to get the glob off so that it's not harder to deal with. Let me get this trash thrown away. And then let me, again, I'm working in a super tight area right now. I'm always rearranging, moving things. You know, me. You know how I be. I'm always moving things around. Actually, so you want to make sure that you're not putting a tote that has contaminants inside of it on top, because that would be pointless. But I think that this is going to work quite nicely. So I just have a Sterilite tote that I am going to get over top of these. Now it does allow some airflow still going up and under that Sterilite tote so that it can get air in there. Okay, just going to zoom this out so you can kind of see it through the Sterilite, but not great. We're sticky stick. Alright, so paper towels, a girl's best friend when you're crafting. Paper towels and our rubbing alcohol. So this alcohol is in an Equate bottle. If you've watched any of my other episodes, you'll know the Equate bottle has the best. Oh, this brush. Do this every time. The Equate bottle has the best spout, but Amazon has really good pricing on rubbing alcohol in bulk, and I go through quite a bit. Not too crazy, but quite a bit. And so I just wipe all my tools basically down with rubbing alcohol. These, you could let them cure up, let the resin cure, and then should be able to kind of scrape it off. I find sometimes it still leaves like a film on it, so I just found that since I'm going to be cleaning anyway, might as well just wipe them down too. Now this is the part, to me, truthfully, that I'd rather have my protective mask on, just because the alcohol is so strong, and with the resin I just feel like it's really overpowering at times. So just be aware of that. Maybe a little much. So as you can see, it's getting a little colored, but still able to use it. Not that the back of this tote matters, but so all of our tools. Now for the silicone cups, you could let it cure, but because I use so much, and scrape these so much. I find cleaning them with the rubbing alcohol is the easiest. But test it for yourself. Find what works. Adapt as needed. So I'll use this and fold it a couple times, and then I'm going to go through with a fresh one and really get in them. But when it's just that first layer, I'm not super worried, because I'm just trying to, more than anything, get the colorant out, which the alcohol inks will stain your cups. So be aware of that. If you don't like stained cups, which I have a love-hate of it, then don't put alcohol inks into your silicone cups. If you're fine with it, then it's fine. Because that pink I won't ever get out of there. Even though I did purple, the purple turns to pink, and as you can see. So I'm just, more than anything with this first bunch, just trying to get that first layer out of there. This was our original mixing cup. And again, I'm just really trying to get that first layer out. And then we're going to do some... I'm excited for that orchid. I'll be like... so pretty. What I turn it into now that once it's made, I don't know, but you know, that's to come. It's fine. Round and round we go. Where she stops, nobody knows. You could even pour a little bit of alcohol into your cups if you want to. I don't find it really necessary. And they'll just air dry, which is nice. Some people put them upside down, let the resin flow out as much as possible. But by the time I get to that point, I think the resin, it's so thin in the cup anyway that it's starting to cure, so it doesn't really run. That's probably why. But you could turn it upside down onto a silicone mat and it would, you know, essentially drain out, and then you come back and clean it. Now this one is pretty dirty. It's starting to rip, but this still had a nice layer of resin in the very bottom. So I figure it will need one more round, but we should be done. These gloves, as long as they don't rip when I pull them off, will get used again. Sometimes they rip, sometimes they don't. It just all depends, but they're pretty clean now. So now I've done all the things, and you can kind of do that with them. And then I'll even use this next time because it's pretty clean. But we pull our gloves off. Maybe sometimes the hands are sweaty and it's kind of gross. Maybe that's why I don't like wearing gloves usually. But when you're pouring, there's just no way when you're grabbing stuff to not have gloves. So that is our pour. Yay! Our first pour of 2025. I just have to cheat and peek really quick. Now, when you're doing something like this, be very careful. I've ruined projects. I've made big mistakes by, oh, I have to peek, or, oh, I have to unmold it right now. Nope. Trust the process. This is why I pour at nighttime, y'all, so that I don't obsess and keep coming back, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to leave these in here and not constantly check them. That's just who I am. So I know this about myself. And so, you know what? You learn techniques that work for you. So if you're like me, you say, nope, we will come back tomorrow when it is cured and be able to look at them. Yay! I hope y'all enjoyed. Hope you stay tuned. There will be at least probably 2 more episodes in this series. Time will tell though. Might be more, just depending on how it all works out. Hope you enjoyed and have a great night. Bye.